The sun rose slowly over the rugged hills of ancient Canaan, casting a warm, golden glow that chased away the lingering shadows of night. The wind whispered through the dry grass and stirred faint clouds of dust around the scattered tents of the nomads. In this land torn by endless conflicts and shaky pacts, where fear hung heavier than the desert heat, a baby girl named Jael entered the world quietly. No grand celebration marked her arrival. No heavenly sign or prophet's voice announced her birth. She was simply another daughter among the Kenites, a people who lived on the edges of society, forever navigating the thin line between the vast silence of the wilderness and the constant threats that circled like hungry predators. Jael grew up in a world of hushed conversations, watchful eyes, and tales shared around flickering campfires. Her people had no mighty army, no fortified cities, no kings or crowns to boast of. They dwelled in simple tents, always ready to fold them up and move on, knowing the earth beneath their feet could shift at any moment. Yet the Kenites were survivors. They had learned to watch closely, to listen intently, and to wait patiently for the right moment. Her own tent was crafted from thick, durable fabric stretched over strong wooden stakes she herself had learned to drive deep into the ground with practiced swings of her hammer. It was humble work, requiring steady hands and sharp focus. Little did anyone know that among those everyday tools, in the quiet rhythm of nomadic life, the hand of God was already at work, shaping something extraordinary, something no one could yet see, something Jael herself never imagined in her wildest dreams.
Years slipped by like sand through an hourglass. Canaan simmered with unrest. The people of Israel, who claimed to serve the one true God, found themselves crushed under the heel of oppression. For 20 long years, King Jabin of Canaan and his ruthless commander Sisera had dominated them with iron chariots and terror. The Israelites cried out in their distress, and in response, God raised up a remarkable woman, a prophetess and judge named Deborah. With eyes that seemed to pierce the veil of time and a voice filled with divine authority, she sat under her palm tree, settling disputes and guiding her people. When she spoke, even hardened warriors paused to listen. It was Deborah who summoned a man named Barak from Kadesh in Naphtali. "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you," she declared boldly. "Go and take 10,000 men from Naphtali and Zebulun to Mount Tabor. I will lure Sisera and his army to the Kishon River and deliver him into your hands." Barak hesitated, his heart heavy with the weight of Sisera's reputation. This commander was no ordinary foe, cruel, swift, and seemingly unstoppable with his 900 iron chariots that thundered across the plains like beasts of war. "I will go," Barak replied, "but only if you go with me, Deborah." She agreed, yet warned him firmly. "Very well, I will go with you, but because of the way you have spoken, the honor of this victory will not go to you. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." That prophecy echoed like distant thunder, planting seeds of wonder and unease. Many assumed Deborah herself would claim the glory, but far away, in her quiet corner of the Kenite camp, Jael felt an unexplained chill run down her spine. It was as if the wind itself carried those words straight to her heart. Jael lived an ordinary life among the tents. She could sew with precision, bake fresh bread over open fires, tend to the flocks, and secure the ropes that held her home against the desert winds. But there was a quiet depth to her, a steady gaze that seemed to see beyond surface words, a calm intuition that sensed what was coming. Her husband, Heber the Kenite, had chosen to pitch their tents farther north, near the territories controlled by King Jabin. He had forged a kind of peace pact with the Canaanites, for safety, for convenience, or perhaps both.
It was a risky choice that placed Jael and her family in a delicate position between two worlds. She knew the dangers all too well. Living in Canaan felt like balancing on a razor's edge. As she went about her daily tasks, washing garments by the stream or mending fabric, she overheard rumors carried on the lips of travelers. Deborah had called Barak to war. Sisera was marching with his terrifying chariots, and that strange prophecy lingered. Victory would come through a woman. Jael couldn't shake the feeling that those words were meant for more than they seemed. One fateful night, under a sky blanketed with twinkling stars, the air grew thick with anticipation. Jael sensed a shift in the desert's mood. The animals grew restless, and the silence felt charged, like the calm before a mighty storm. Down in the valley, Barak assembled his 10,000 poorly equipped fighters on Mount Tabor. Sisera advanced confidently, his iron chariots gleaming menacingly under the sun, his soldiers laughing at the ragtag Israelite army. "What can these peasants do against my might?" he boasted inwardly. The battle seemed already won in his mind. But God had other plans. Thick clouds gathered suddenly, the sky darkened, and a violent storm erupted. Rain poured down in torrents, turning the ground into a muddy quagmire. Sisera's prized chariots, once symbols of unstoppable power, sank deep into the sludge. Wheels jammed, horses panicked and slipped, and chaos swallowed the Canaanite forces. The Israelites charged down from the mountain like a divine flood, swords in hand and faith in their hearts. What had been a display of human strength crumbled under heaven's fury. Sisera's army scattered in terror. Defeated and desperate, the mighty general abandoned his chariot and fled on foot, running through mud and rain, his once proud armor now a burden. Exhausted and alone, Sisera stumbled toward the nearest shelter he could find, a cluster of Kenite tents. His alliance with Heber gave him hope of safety. He approached one tent, his breathing ragged, his eyes wild with fear. Jael heard his heavy footsteps before she saw him.
Lifting the tent flap, she faced the man everyone feared, the nightmare of the battlefield, now reduced to a weary fugitive, soaked and trembling. Without hesitation, in a voice soft and welcoming, almost maternal, she said, "Come in, my lord. Turn aside to me. Do not be afraid." Sisera entered gratefully, trusting the peace between their peoples and underestimating the woman before him. Jael covered him with a warm blanket for comfort. When he asked for water, she went further. She offered him milk from a bowl, rich and soothing, the kind that calms the body and invites deep sleep. "Stand at the door," he instructed wearily, "and if anyone asks, say no one is here." She nodded calmly, but her mind was already clear with resolve. As Sisera sank into exhausted slumber, his breathing growing slow and heavy, Jael moved with quiet purpose. The milk had done its work. She rose without a sound and retrieved a simple wooden tent peg from the corner, the very kind she used daily to secure her home. In her other hand, she took the hammer, its weight familiar from years of honest labor. Approaching the sleeping general, she positioned the peg carefully against his temple. Her hand was steady, her heart resolute.
With one powerful, decisive blow, crack, she drove the stake straight through his head and into the ground beneath. Sisera never woke. No cry escaped his lips. He lay still, defeated, not by armies or swords, but by the quiet courage of one woman in a tent. Jael stood there motionless for a moment, the weight of her actions settling like the dust after a storm. There was no immediate joy or triumph in her heart, only the heavy silence that follows a life-altering choice. Outside, the rain had eased. Footsteps approached hurriedly. Barak, pursuing the enemy commander, burst toward the tent, mud-caked and breathless. Jael stepped out calmly to meet him, her face composed,
her voice steady. "Come," she said simply. "I will show you the man you are looking for." Barak entered and froze. There lay Sisera, the terror of Israel, pinned to the earth by a humble tent peg, blankets still draped over his body. The prophecy thundered in Barak's mind. The honor would belong to a woman, not through grand battle, but through this unexpected act of bravery in the ordinary. Jael had fulfilled what an entire army could not. Atop the hills, under clearing skies, Deborah already sensed the victory in her spirit. The storm had passed, but its impact would echo forever. Soon, Deborah and Barak lifted their voices in a triumphant song of praise, not just a battle cry, but a poetic celebration of God's faithfulness.
They sang of the courage shown by tribes who answered the call, of the heavens fighting alongside Israel with rain and chaos. And right in the heart of that song, Jael's name rang out clearly. Most blessed of women is Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Blessed is she among tent-dwelling women. He asked for water, and she gave him milk. In a bowl fit for nobles, she brought him curds. Her hand reached for the tent peg, her right hand for the workman's hammer. She struck Sisera, she crushed his head, she shattered and pierced his temple. At her feet he sank, he fell. Where he sank, there he fell, dead. The people repeated her name with awe. Jael, the woman of the tent, who used no sword, wore no armor, commanded no troops, yet changed the course of a nation with what she had at hand. Her simple stake and hammer became symbols of divine strength in weakness. Women in tents everywhere gained new respect, for now people understood that quiet faithfulness could turn the tide of war. If this story of unexpected courage is stirring something in your heart today, why not hit that like button and subscribe to the channel? Turn on notifications so you never miss these powerful Bible stories that bring faith to life.
Yet Jael herself remained silent amid the songs and celebrations. She sought no throne, no title, no public acclaim. She returned quietly to her daily rhythms, securing tents, tending fires, living among her people. The Bible tells us nothing of her later days. No further verses detail her life after that one pivotal moment. Did she continue in the same humble ways, watching new seasons unfold? Did the memory of that night bring her peace, or a quiet loneliness that no one could share? We may never know on this side of eternity. What we do know is that her act of obedience echoed through generations. In a time when many waited for grand signs or mighty warriors, Jael simply discerned the moment and acted with what God had placed before her. She didn't need a vision from an angel or a public anointing. She responded to the opportunity with discernment, courage, and a steadfast heart. Her story reminds us powerfully today. God often uses the most unlikely people in the most ordinary places. You don't have to stand on a stage or lead an army. Sometimes faithfulness looks like driving a stake with precision when the enemy least expects it. It looks like offering comfort that disarms, then standing firm when the time for action comes. Jael teaches us that true courage isn't always loud or flashy. It can be quiet, practical, and deeply obedient. It asks, what is in my hand right now, and how can I use it for God's purpose?
When we feel too small, too hidden, or unprepared for the battles around us, remember Jael. Remember the woman in the tent who planted victory into the ground with a single faithful blow. God is still searching for hearts like hers, attentive, ready, and willing to act in the silence. Her legacy isn't closed with fanfare or a dramatic farewell. It remains open, inviting each of us to consider, what quiet calling is knocking at the door of our own tent today? Will we hesitate like Barak, or rise with the courage of Jael? Thank you for journeying through this powerful account from the Book of Judges. If Jael's story has touched your heart and strengthened your faith, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring Bible stories of overcoming and divine purpose.
Turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. All your support, whether through likes, shares, or thanks, makes a real difference and helps us bring these timeless truths to more lives. May the God who empowered Jael fill you with the same quiet strength for whatever lies ahead. Until next time, walk in courage, live in obedience, and trust that even the smallest acts done for Him can shake nations. God bless you.